Alright, I've got Osokai in Steamy Bad Romance.
Chafing Armor, Episode 7. I don't know about punk, but there's plenty of steam. Welcome back to Chafing Armor Podcast, scratching your itch for Dungeons & Dragons. I'm your host and wonderful Dungeon Master, Michael Corley, and with me on this very special episode is Lee. Lee, please tell everyone who you are playing.
G'day everyone, I'm Lee, and I'm playing Osokai, the Shifter Ranger from the Eldane Reaches.
Fantastic. We open with Osokai in an underground tunnel. He is with the elf maiden, who says she is a druid of the elf people and identifies herself as Zuana. If she is to be believed, when she attempted to summon her bear companion to fight with her, instead, Osokai was dragged underground to her aid and somewhat unwillingly drawn into this battle. However, ultimately, after a battle with kobolds, he has decided to help her recover children stolen in this mysterious underground lair with steaming pipes. Zuana turns to you, Osokai, and she asks, "Are you hurt?"
Osokai shrugs. No.
She gently touches the area where you dressed her shoulder wound, where she received a not insignificant axe wound from a kobold. She leads you back down the passageway from whence you had come. And this time, when you get back to the crossway, she turns right. And if you were to, in your mind, map out, especially since you have dungeoneering, you think that this might be the direction where that pipe that had jutted out of the wall is coming from. And you all begin to make your way down the passageway, where you begin to hear ringing noises. You're not quite sure what they are, but it's definitely the sound of metal on metal. As you get closer to the end of this tunnel, you can see a red light ahead. What would you like to do?
Okay, so what does the air smell like?
It smells of fire. You also smell something else. Something not like the horrid decay of those putrid zombies that you fought not too long ago, but the smell of refuse and just trash. It's a not quite a smell that you're used to as someone who lives out in the wilderness, but it's not a good smell.
Can I recognize the kind of smell from the room with the goblins? Is it the same similar kind of smell?
That is a very good question. And you don't think it's the goblin smell. It's more, you don't spend a lot of time in cities. They're not your favorite place, I'm assuming. But this is more of the smell of the midden heap in a city. The place where the overflow of trash goes, but not quite the horrid stench of a goblin cave, which is half refuse, half toilet.
Okay, I'm just going to take Zuana's lead on this one.
All right. She slows down and she makes her way. She starts to hug the edge of the wall, which you try to do as well as you can. There's a lot more of you. There's at least twice as much of you as there is of Zuana. As you make your way to the edge where the light begins to spill in, you get to the point where you can just see inside. And I want you to imagine a very large, open cavern room. Inside is metal. Particularly, you note that the ground is a metal that you've never seen before. I don't mean that it's a different kind of metal. You've just never seen it quite like this before. We would recognize it as like a grate. It's got lots of holes in it at regularly spaced intervals. And you can see throughout the area several figures, and they appear to be doing some kind of manual labor. They appear to be striking hammers, they're moving gears, they're shoveling coal into a furnace. They're just doing kind of grunt work. And you can't get a really good look at them from here, but none of them look very tall.
I will gently tap Zuana on the shoulder and say, "Children?"
She shakes her head once, and she taps her eyes. You know that the eyes of the Elvish are very, very sharp. And she whispers, "Dwarves." But not in an angry way, like almost in a mystified way. Like she's not quite sure what's going on here. And she gestures to you that it seems that if y'all are very careful, you might be able to slip along the side wall behind some kind of apparatus. It would be too grand to call it machinery, but some kind of mechanical device that is very close to this entrance. She seems to be indicating to you that y'all might be able to slip around it if you're careful. And she slips inside and disappears behind it. Do you want to try to follow her?
Is it quite noisy?
It is very noisy in there, yes. There is lots of clanging noises as they open and close various valves and shutters and engine-looking things.
So there's no real reason to move silently, but trying to keep out of sight. As a nearly 7-foot tall man bear, that's going to be difficult. How big is the mechanical contraption that Zuana slipped behind?
It's about half the size of a bus. So if you got behind it, it'd be very, very easy to be not seen. It's really more a matter of timing it so that no one happens to be looking in your direction. As you said, you could practically be banging pots and pans and walk behind it. But if someone just happens to see you, they're definitely going to notice a almost 7-foot tall bear man.
Okay, so that means I can't throw anything as a distraction either. They wouldn't hear it.
You could try.
All right, I'll give that a try. Can I find a relatively hefty stone that I could toss to the other side of the room?
Yes, because this cave or tunnel is not very well built, there are ample rocks about, and you easily find one that's a little larger than your head.
Let's see if I can toss that to the other side of the room, away from the mechanical things.
All right. I would like you to roll both a 20-sided dice with your any dexterity bonus you have, and then I would also like you to roll a percentage die.
Alrighty, 20-sided die coming up, and that's with a strength bonus, is it?
I want you to... Well, yes, actually, no, I do want you to put your strength in there. Thank you.
That is 12. I rolled a 10. And percentage die is 90%.
Well, let me just say it's very good that you rolled very high on that. If you had rolled low, there was a chance you would have accidentally just smacked someone in the head with it. But you rolled very high. So instead, you just hurl, shot put style, this stone. It hurls across and just slams into a huge cylinder, and it makes a resounding plang. And everyone turns and looks. And I assume you want to take this moment to sneak around?
In that gap, yeah, I would like to try and make my way to next to Zuana. If possible, is the exit to this room from the entryway we came in, is that directly across, or is it possible to maybe slip out that way if we kind of run at full speed?
I want to make sure I'm understanding. Are you saying, is it possible to make it to a different entrance?
Yes. So we could sit at the behind the mechanical machine, but on the off chance that it's possible that there is another exit to the room from the one we came in that we could get to without drawing any attention, I'd like to go for that by picking up Zuana and bolting.
Yes, you absolutely can do that. Now that, of course, will have a more chance of being caught, whereas If you just hide behind the machinery, you basically just have to not roll a 1. But I will give you advantage on this roll because of your success in throwing the rock.
Okay, so I will roll the 20-sided die to see if that's successful. Okay. That is a 20.
So here's what happens. You hurl the rock, and in the same instant you pivot and start to run towards Zuana. Your left hand reaches out and grabs her good shoulder, and there's like a little as she flies with you, and both of you go hurtling towards the other exit. And you see one of the other people start to turn towards you, and the rock that had fallen was kind of balanced against the side of the cylinder, but the vibration from the machinery knocks it over, and it makes another pwang, and he turns back to look at that, and both of you, as far as you can tell, successfully slip by them into the next passage. And she turns and looks at you just in amazement. She goes, "That was impressive."
I will put her down, if I haven't already, and just point down the passageway and say, we should keep moving.
She regains her composure and just very, oh, yes, quite right. And you both begin to make your way down the passageway. As you make your way down the passageway, you begin to hear a sound. It's a vaguely unpleasant sound. Think about, well, actually, you know this sound very, very well. It's like the sound of when your boot sinks halfway into mud and then you pull it out. It makes that sound. You're hearing something like that, but at semi-regular intervals. I should also note that this passageway is angling down slightly. And you notice to the side that there's a kind of grate like you had noticed on the floor, but it's much, much finer. Like it's almost a mesh, but you can see through it. And you realize you think you're seeing the underbelly of the room before. So you think what you've done is you've kind of made like a half semicircle. Now you can keep going. You don't have to stop where you are now. But this mesh that you see is essentially a potential entrance to the underside of the room you were just in. You also note that the smell of refuse is somewhat stronger, and you think that it's coming from this area underneath the other room. Now, you can look in there, but because the mesh is so fine, you would have to get closer to the mesh and actually look through it.
Okay. I will make Zuana aware of this mesh and see what she thinks about whether or not she wants to continue or if there's something we should investigate in regards to this room behind the mesh and so on.
Y'all begin to make your way further down the passageway. And as you make your way further down the passageway, you begin to hear the sound of something or someone coming towards you. Now, there are nooks and crannies where you could try to kind of hide, but the truth is if someone walks right past you, they're going to see you. So you could potentially try to, surprise them and that kind of thing, but there's almost no chance that they just walk by and not see you.
Okay. I will indicate one of the nooks to Zuana. She may be small enough to get away with it. I'm hoping at least. And I will go back to the... I'm going to stay where I am, and I'm going to see what comes around the corner.
Okay.
I will stand ready for action, but I will try not to look too ready, I suppose.
You stand in the center, and she does a fairly good job of hiding, partly because she's very small and partly because she's pretty stealthy. And something comes around the corner. It is a male dwarf. And there is something wrong with his face. And your brain goes back to those kobolds that you saw earlier. In the middle of combat and with the steam and everything, you didn't really think about it too much later. But you remember now that there was something wrong with their face. This this dwarf, his face is slightly decayed. And the other side of his face is branded. And even in the incredibly dim light, you see that it is that same symbol that you saw on those medallions above ground. And he sees you, and his eyes are glassy. He only seems to partially recognize your presence. And he walks up to you, and he says in somewhat broken common, "Are you here to feed the master?"
I am going to confidently say yes.
He nods, and he says, "Good, good. Proceed down this hall. The master awaits you in his loving embrace. Walk into the mouth, and he will welcome you." And he walks right past you. He doesn't say another thing. Do you want to try to stop him or anything? He just keeps going.
I'm not going to push my luck. I'm going to let him go. And yeah, well, at this point, I don't think that he's any risk to us at this point.
It's, of course, no way for you to say for certain, but it seems likely that he is not really there, and that he probably won't say anything. You don't really know for sure, but he just keeps going. And Zuana steps out from the shadows, and she looks at you very worriedly, and she says, "What in the hells was wrong with him?"
I briefly tell Zuana that I've seen the symbol on his face before and where I've seen it, but I also make it known that we probably shouldn't stick around where we are and should try and continue on and find these children.
She nods and agrees, and y'all make your way down the passageway. The passageway is now moving steadily downwards, and the hewn rock is now giving way to a more sculptured rock. You have a. Would you go ahead and roll a dungeoneering check for me?
Okie dokie. That is a 13 plus. So that's 15.
You recognize that this is dwarven made stone. So this is very well made passageway. And you're not quite sure if the one that you came from before had like broken in on it or had been annexed. You're not quite sure about that. But the place you're in now is definitely of dwarven make and is very smooth, very even, at a very even incline. But in this case, it is declining and going downwards. And it is making its way towards an opening. And the arch to the opening has dwarven script in it. I don't think you speak dwarven, do you?
No, I don't.
And she runs her hand over the script, but she doesn't seem to know what it says either. There is a wooden door closed to you, but it does not appear to be locked. It seems more like just a simple, opening latch.
It's probably not too difficult to tell, but I mean, that's your purview. Are there any signs of traffic, like great signs of traffic through either door?
You can tell that there has been a great deal of traffic going in and out, just from the wear of the stone, and also just from that you've been through tunnels before, and tunnels that are of very little use have a certain look to them, and this does not have that look.
Okay. I will listen at the wooden door, see if I can hear anything beyond it.
Roll for that.
Here we go. That is 16 plus 4, so that's 20.
You listen, and you can hear the sound of a creature. And I mean creature, like something that is not quite normal beyond. Some large, kind of sound. You cannot tell what it is, but that is because you genuinely have not heard this before. So that it's not simply that you cannot identify it. It's that you have no idea what that makes that sound. But since you rolled so well, you also hear the faint crying of children.
I will attempt to soundlessly indicate this information to Zuana. I will attempt. I'm not sure if she'll understand.
She seems to understand, and she again stiffens at the sound, or the report, and she grips her quarterstaff tightly, and she looks at the door and she nods to you.
All right. Are there any gaps in his door? Is there a keyhole? Is there anything I can look through to see the other side, if possible? Otherwise, we might try and crack the door a little bit. I don't want to take that risk, though.
There really isn't any way to just look through the door. There isn't a keyhole. It's actually, this is why you knew it wasn't locked, unless, of course, there's like a physical barring on the other side, it's simply the kind of door that you grab with a metal latch and pull open.
So it's a pull to open door. I can gather that I'd have to pull it towards me to crack it, not push it.
That is correct.
How are the hinges? Are they rusted? Is this door likely to make a sound if I open it?
I'm going to let you use your earlier dungeoneering check, and there's no way, again, for you to tell if it's going to make any noise, but it does also appear to be dwarven make, and therefore you think that it's unlikely to make a loud noise, at least.
Okay. Let's look around where we are first. We're in a sort of like an entry hall, I guess.
Correct.
Any furniture around? Any hiding places? And we can just look around for stuff, see what's around us, see what we've got going on.
There are 2 wooden benches on either side, and each of them have literally a pot on either side with dead plants in them.
And that's pretty much it, I guess. No torches, no braziers, nothing else that we can sort of cobble together for strategy or anything.
There are 2 brackets where torches should be, but there is nothing in them.
Is there light coming from beneath the door? Can I see beneath the door? Is there a gap?
Yes, and because you look very carefully, you can see a light coming from under the door. It is not torchlight. It is some kind of glow, and that you would normally associate with magic.
I will point to the glow beneath the door to Zuana and intimate magic in some way, like, I don't know how I would do that. Probably raise my arms in the air, wiggle my fingers like I would think a wizard would do.
I absolutely love that you did that, and she completely understands what you mean. And you even see that despite the circumstances, she has a tiny smirk on her face.
See if she can intimate anything, whether or not, being a druid, whether or not it's an earthy magic, arcane, or anything else like that. She may be able to. I don't really know. I don't know a whole lot about magic as a ranger.
She gestures and casts some sort of spell, and she frowns, and she says, "This is dark magic. It is not natural. It is like necromancy, but also Something else? It is bad. It is very bad.
All right, so we have this door. We have the tunnel we came out of. Are those the only egress through this room?
The only other possible opening is you think that you probably could open that mesh that you had passed by earlier, but you weren't 100% sure because you didn't get too close to it.
Whisper to Zuan to prepare herself, and I will try to very quietly crack the door leading into the glowing room.
You crack the door open, and it does, in fact, open almost silently. There's only the tiniest creak coming from the well-made dwarven hinges. And as you peek as best you can into the room, you don't have a full view of the room, but you can see a wide room. It is circular, and it's very large. It's almost the same size as that very large room that y'all went through earlier, but this one is circular, and this one is definitely not dwarven made. You're not sure if exactly what's going on with the architecture here, but this one is not dwarven made. It is simply rough-hewn, huge, and circular. It reminds you of the bottom of a pit. You've seen some, like, unfortunately, you've seen some bear pits in your day and other things like that used to trap animals, and it has that kind of feel to it. But it's much larger. And there is something in the center of the room. It is some kind of creature. And you can see at least one child at its feet in the distance, but that's all you can make out from the cracking of the door.
Jabba? Sorry, that's all that came to mind was Jabba the Hutt. All right. How far away from the center of the room is the door? I'm guessing a fair way given the size of the room, but I just kind of want to. If both of us sneak in, what's the likelihood? What kind of hiding or sneak opportunities do we have?
The room is fairly large, so it really depends on which way the creature is facing when you come in, but there's a fairly good chance it wouldn't see you unless it happened to be looking right that way. But all you can make out of the creature is a oversized haunch of a leg and part of its body. It is big, whatever it is.
Okay. I'm going to raise my finger to my lips in the universal quiet sound, symbol and beckon Zuana in and make the, again, universal symbol for inspect, the hand over the eyes to have a look and see if she can, what she thinks, if she thinks anything at all.
When she peeks inside, when she sees the child, you couldn't see it very well, by the way, but you could make out that it was a, child-shaped thing. She gestures to go inside.
But nothing about the obvious giant elephant in the room.
No. There is, that's actually not bad. It has a sort of an elephant-like property almost to the leg that you can see, but a little more monstery.
I'm going to drop to all fours to kind of minimize my stature, I suppose. And that still puts me about 4 foot tall, but I'm going to sneak forward to try and get a better view of the room, the creature inside, and just try and work out what I'm up against before making any particular moves.
All right. Would you roll a stealth move for me, a dexterity roll to be stealthy?
Alrighty. So that would just be move silently?
Yes.
Okay, I will do that. Oh, it's one of my better skills. Not a great roll, though. That is a 12 in total.
So you move into the room, and you're on all fours trying to be as silent as you can. The creature does not seem to see you. As you move inside, you finally get the full view of the room. There are 4 children on the ground. All of them are bound and gagged, though they are still whimpering through the gags, which is what you heard. They are all elf children. However, they are all drow elf children. All of them have white hair and indigo skin, and they are all whimpering at the feet of a creature that your mind does not immediately wrap itself around. Imagine 4 elephant legs, but clawed. And imagine if they were all kind of squished together. And as your eyes raise upwards, imagine an eyeball just stuck into the flesh of this creature. And where you would imagine a head to be, a massive maw splitting open the top of the creature. And circling the maw are tentacles and arms. This creature is the stuff of nightmares. And you also realize that whatever the glow that you saw is actually coming from its mouth. It's actually coming from that giant maw. And it does not seem to notice you at the moment. But that is because the giant eye is swiveling down towards one of the children. And you see the maw extend outwards. And it begins to turn its body in an odd sideways motion, like it's going to move down to chomp this child in half.
Okay. Osokai doesn't really care either way. Drow, elf, dwarf. Doesn't really matter to him. I am going to quickly turn to Zuana and whisper to her to wait. Actually, no. I am going to whisper to her that to make herself as small as possible. We are going to attempt to mount a bluff rescue. I'm going to have her pose as a child. I am going to walk in as if I am going to feed the master, as was told beforehand. Here's a quick thing. Does Zuana have the ability to disguise other people?
Are you asking her, does she have the ability to disguise others?
Yes, I'm thinking of maybe makeup or maybe some kind of glamour spell or something, just to make one half of my face branded and the other disfigured, much like the dwarves and the kobolds, perhaps.
She looks at you intently and she says, "Yes, if you hurry and trust me."
Osuke doesn't have a reason to trust, but he also doesn't have a reason to distrust. And in his mind, if this plan is going to work, he's just going to have to go through with it. So he gives a quick nod and sits nearby.
All right. She clearly does not want to do what she is about to do. She reaches up, and you remember that she had an intricate headscarf. She untwines the headscarf, and it falls away from her head. As it does, the headscarf becomes a very plain brown cap, and Zuana turns into a drow. She looks at you with red eyes, and long white hair spills across her. Her leather armor that she had shown before is actually a kind of composite plate mail. And she walks forward and she places the cap on your head. And she says, I want you to think about what you want to be, and you shall be it.
I will recall the placement of the brand on the faces of the kobold and the dwarf and transplant that to my own face on the same side. I will also recall the disfiguration and the bubbling and the markings and try and envision that on my own face as well. Also try and envision the glassy look of the dwarf and the voice and intonation. And I will try and place that on my own face. And also the side of my body that the disfiguration is on, I will try and see if that can be disfigured as well.
Now, you do not feel any different whatsoever, but she looks at you and she nods approvingly, and she says, "You have done very well. Let us proceed."
I stand, I offer my arms so that she knows I'm not going to grab her. She climbs in by herself, and we will try and pull off this heist.
All right. Bold as brass, you turn and walk towards the creature. You see, as it's beginning to lower itself to consume one of the children, you assume, one of the eyes, you now see there are actually two eyes. They're planted on either side of this just lump of a creature. It's hideous to behold. One of the eyes swivels towards you, and it leans in, and it does not attack, and it pays you no mind whatsoever, and it turns its attention back to the child that it was originally looking at, and it ignores you completely.
Okay, part one done. All right, so now that we're closer, I'll try and maintain the facade as much as possible, but also keeping an eye out on things. So we have a very large, for want of a better word, Lovecraftian nightmare in front of us. Just currently not paying attention to us at the moment. Can I note anywhere where I can put Zuana down where she will be, I don't want to say safe, but at the same time, she's a drow. She's a lot smarter than most and a lot more wily. I don't know that, so that's just out of character. Where she may be able to get off a couple of spells without too much hassle.
You certainly can set her to the side, as it were. I mean, it is a giant circular room, and the creature is roughly in the center. You notice something else now. There's also just like a faint sifting of like dirt, basically coming down. You're not quite sure what that's about. It doesn't appear to be dangerous to you or anything, but you just, you can't help but notice when dirt is falling in your face. But you can absolutely set her to the side.
If I look up, can I see the roof?
You can. It's actually lit by the mouth, because the mouth is literally on the top of the head of this creature, where a head should be. If you think about like a flashlight, it's essentially illuminating the ceiling above it. The ceiling is made of a mixture of sand and dirt. And it actually, like, just based on your observation, it should be just collapsing in on you. Like, it should just be dirt and sand and just fall down on you. But it's not. It's just faintly sifting around in a just kind of a very slow sort of circular pattern. And you don't know what is the what with that. But it does not appear to be of danger to you at the moment.
Ozukai suspects magic. Very powerful magic, I'm guessing. Powerful dark magic based on what Zuana said before. I'm hoping... Alright, let's just see what happens. I'm going to put Zuana down, and I'm going to hope she can follow my lead. I'm going to point upwards at the creature, and then I'm going to put my finger to her mouth in a gesture of silence, and then I'm going to wiggle my fingers like a mage would, hoping she understands that if she knows how to cast silence, to do so. And then I'm going to walk towards each drow child and pick it up and try and walk it towards the entrance that we came to.
You can absolutely do exactly as you say. And you don't know what is the deal with Zawana. You don't know exactly what's going on here, but she definitely knows the spell of silence. And she casts it, and you feel just this muffling silence wash over the area. There's only one problem, though. There is one child that is absolutely in the creature's vision because it is looking at it and slowly moving towards it. So you can get all of the other children out. Did I say there was 4 or 5? I cannot recall.
5. So I can get 4 children out and 1 is in the way.
Exactly. And you don't have time to actually like physically carry them out, but you can start shepherding them in the right direction. But now something is going to need to happen, or this last child, you sense bad things are going to happen to it.
Okay. Well, my idea, I guess the one I didn't quite catch what I was going for, but that's fine. It wasn't really something I could do. I was hoping she could cast silence on the creature in the hope that it would disrupt the spell and cause the ceiling to fall. But we'll go with the silence that allows me to move around silently.
Whatever is happening to the ceiling does not appear to be directly, I mean, obviously it's somehow connected, but it does not appear to be being done by this creature as far as you can tell, because the silence spell does not appear to interrupt it. And the creature, you like you said, you don't really know magic, but you know that usually a continuous magic requires some kind of effort from the spellcaster. Like you know from the twiddling fingers that you gestured to her twice, that you think that if this creature was doing this through a continuous spell, it would have to do something to keep it going. So it does not appear to affect it.
Okay. All right. So hopefully all 4 of the children I can get out. The last one, let's see. I'm going to beckon to Zawana and point at the children and hope she gets the idea to go to them. And then I don't know if I can pull off the same trick twice. All right. I'm going to throw my grappling hook at the eye of the creature and at the same time try and dash, pick up the last child, and run to the exit. That's my plan. Let's see if the dice help me out. All right, first to throw the grappling hook. That is that's a 16.
Okay. I would like you to roll 1d4 damage.
1d4. Alrighty. That's 4.
So what happens is you throw the grappling hook up. It does not go into the eye of the creature, but it hooks in just below. And essentially its skin is like the scales, not unlike the scales of a dragon. Not quite, but not unlike. It's modeled. And it hooks right underneath the eye and pulls down. You can definitely tell the creature notices, and it lets out a sound, and its eye swivels down towards you.
All right, we are going to attempt the second half of my trick while it is slightly distracted. I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to attempt to grab the last child and toss it to Zawana, hoping she can do something. Either catch it, it's a smaller drow, or magically catch it, or something. Just get it out of the room, and I will deal with the consequences later.
All right. Now, what I would like you to do is I'd like you to roll a 20-sided dice, but I would like you to roll it twice. And the reason is I will randomly reward you for doing good character things. This is actually in reward for your original grapple attack against the kobolds in the previous episodes. When you are doing something heroic and in character, I will randomly allow you to have advantage, which means you roll twice and take the best of those.
Alrighty, rolling twice. So my first roll is a 6, and my second roll is a 20. I think I know what I'm going with.
Yes, you go with the 20. So you actually hook onto the eye of this creature, or just below the eye, and the creature pulls up, and this creature is massive. I mean, Osokai, under no circumstances, which, by the way, you're playing very well in character, would want to fight a creature this size. And so you are actually pulled off the ground as it just simply raises itself up because it's so huge. But as it does, you are still holding on to the rope. And so you swing forward, catch the child, and as you come back on the swing, you release the child. It flies across the room, and Zuana catches it deftly and sort of pushes it out the door with a quick flick of her knife. You see her cut the bond so that it can get out easily. But now the creature has turned back towards you and Zuana, and it roars. And then the strangest thing happens. A body falls out of the ceiling. A body of a demon. You vaguely recognize it as a demon. You don't know quite what kind, but it has massive forearms, like two giant, bodybuilder forearms and two tiny little grasping arms below that. It has huge teeth, and it is covered in multiple wounds, including burns and cuts in every description, and it falls to the ground with a splot. And both you and the creature turn and look at it, and that's where we're going to end today's episode. What?
Come on.
We will be joining this again later, and much will be explained. This is going to be some wonderful dramatic irony, since the listener knows where this body came from, but the wonderful Lee playing Osokai does not. And we will be talking about that in the next episode. Lee, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely.
And we will see all of you soon. If you want to check us out, put in Chafing Armor in Facebook, and we have a Facebook page that you can check out. Have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you soon.